effects on the lead vocal, I almost never want to notice the effects on the lead vocal. I remember my first experiences hiring other great engineers like Chris Lord-Alge or Spike Stent or Michael Brower or Serban. When we were working on a mix, if they would hit stop, I would notice all this like reverb and delays and stuff on the vocal that I would hear when they stopped the track in the middle of the track, but I wasn't hearing it in the track at all. Like, not at all. Didn't notice it at all, and I kept noticing that again and again and again and again and again. And so I started asking people like Chris about it, like why is that, you know? And then I saw the benefit of doing it myself, like just things that kind of like hug and hold and support the lead vocal, which is absolutely the most important thing in a track if you have a singer. So I'm a big fan of kind of tape delay on a vocal because it's not very accurate on top or bottom. It's all sort of mid-range, just like weird kind of dreamy echo reflections. I like a little bit of modulation on that delay, just a bit, so it swims a little bit with a slow rate, not a fast rate. Kind of dreamy. Same with reverbs. I like reverbs to be sort of dead on top, and my favorite reverb is the Capitol chambers, the live chambers that they have 30 feet under the floor down in the machine room at Capitol. That stuff just sounds amazing. It sounds really old-fashioned, but it just sounds musical and incredible. I hate really sibilant, accurate reverbs. It just sounds goofy to me. And to me, the best effect on a vocal is the right kind of compression and the right combination of compressors and how they react to each other. It is really incredible how compression affects so much more than volume, you know, because really I think compressors were invented to just like, you know, there's a reason the stay level is called stay level. This is all old military technology. People were out fighting a war with insane noise around them and radio communication. One guy would be 40 dB louder than the other guy, and people's ears were getting hammered, so they had to control and compress the level of the communication so things were consistent and no one was going to go deaf from like the wrong guy on a mic too loud. And in fact, all this stuff is all trickle-down military technology. No one is more, no one's going to give you a better answer than Michael Brower about how compressors really are big tone machines. And I love how he uses them to create different colors and different vibes, and even if he's not even really engaging the gain reduction in the compressor, he'll just route things through different compressors. Yeah, I was recently in New York at the AES show, and we got to hang out. I've worked with him before as a mixer, but I'd never actually met him in person. I mean, we really got into talking about it, and it's just, you know, it's fascinating. And so I also love what Chris Lord-Alge had taught me, that compression can really make a vocal, it can add energy to a vocal. And Chris is you know, quite a big fan of using gain reduction pretty aggressively, like even more than you would ever think possible. He will limit something and then compress the limiter after, you know, like limiting is like, there's a ceiling, you wouldn't think it could be compressed more, but he wants to hear how that reacts to a compressor, because it adds this other crazy energy to it. And I think that's far more important than reverb or whatever, you know. A little bit of kind of a doubler effect is nice if it doesn't sound phasey, if it doesn't sound like a chorus thing. And I just want to feel like, because I am an instrumentalist and because I really do love hearing the band, and I think I was guilty of undermixing vocals for a long time when I was younger, because I was so obsessed with what the hi-hat was doing, you know, like, I want to hear lots of data coming from the instruments, and I like a lot of information coming at me sometimes, you know, well, quite often actually. And I want the vocal to not be lost, but I want the vocal to not get in the way of the accompaniment either. Like, I really like the depth of all that stuff coming at the speakers, and compression, and the right sort of spatial stuff that you might not even notice in the mix, like a ping pong kind of rolled off delay, and sometimes I'll do that with another mono delay behind it just to add some sort of kind of weird depth perception thing. I want the vocal to kind of jump out of the speakers a little bit, but not like a Frank Sinatra record where it's all vocal and, you know, Nelson Riddle or Count Basie are way in the background conducting the band. I like everyone to kind of be on the same stage, and I find that subtle vocal effects will do that. You know, if you have a raging rock track, a little bit of doubling on the vocal just does a thing where you don't have to turn the vocal up, and you don't really want to hear the doubler either, but you want it to get, I want it to get to where if you take the doubler out, it's like, what happened? Why doesn't it sound as good? It just does a thing where it, you know, again, you're dealing with a really unnatural thing of just two speakers, and you have no visual, you're not seeing these people performing, you don't have any energy exchange between audience and performer. It's just crazy, the weird stuff you got to do to make the music just sound natural. Doubling on the vocal is one of those things. I never want to hear it. Same with tuning on a vocal. I never want to hear tuning on a vocal. I tune vocals all the time because it sounds better, but I don't want to hear any artifacts or any unnatural thing of tuning. There's a way to use the tuning plugins.